Thank you so much. As I said, my name is Kiran Bhatraju. I'm the co-founder of a Silicon Valley company called American Efficient. We're very different than the Twitters and Facebooks of Silicon Valley. We package energy efficiency, produce it, securitize it, and go to the energy markets and actually sell it as a commodity. And we also do a lot of things with big data to help municipal utilities, IOUs, connect their customers, use big data, help everyone save energy. So I am here today to talk to you guys about energy. It's ubiquitous and pervasive in our modern lives. The basis for the internet, for the little supercomputers we all have in our pockets that we carry around every day, and for productivity in our cities. In fact, there was a Congress of Engineers, I believe last year, declared the electrification of the grid the single greatest invention of the 20th century, because it undergirds everything all the great speakers have spoken to here today. And I'm actually a firm believer that, in this world where we're all looking for jobs for our cities, for our citizens, that the third great industrial revolution in the world will be a mix of information technology, which is sort of the revolution we're kind of in right now, where we definitely are in, with a mix of clean alternative energies, the energies of the future. When you hear things like the smart grid or the Internet of Things, to me, this is the big, big job creator of the future. And so stepping back from that to talk about everyday usage, if you're like me, you might find yourself sometimes sitting on the couch, the AC's on, all the lights are on, you've got your TV on, and because I cut my cable bill, I have my iPad hooked up to the TV, laptop, and maybe even my smartphone with Twitter. It's a little absurd, but if you're like me, you might find yourself in these situations, and maybe one day I'll have Google Glass on my head doing all these things at the same time. Now the point here, the point that I think we tend to forget, the real cognitive dissonance, or the irony, is that very, very, very few of us understand anything about our energy. I'm sure there's a lot of very smart people in this room, but I think very few of us could describe who produces our energy, how it gets to our home, and how it actually works, or even describe what a kilowatt hour is, right, which is kind of the basis of energy usage. And it's so with that I kind of wanted to come here and talk about ways that cities that sit on vast data sets of energy, data.gov, which was a great example. There's a program in the US called the Green Button Initiative, which is democratizing energy data, which is incredibly useful. Thank you for that, if you were part of that. But there are things we can do where customers don't really need to know what a kilowatt hour is. They need to know how to use less energy and how much money it'll save me. And these are the things that really matter. So I wanted to talk about democratizing energy, the power of one, giving each individual in a city the opportunity to really save energy. And I hope these kind of 5 examples I'm going to run through are things you guys can do in your various cities to help folks save energy. So the first is benchmarking. So New York City, Mayor Bloomberg comes into power now a long, long, long time ago. He's about on his way out. He sits down with his staff and he says, who's our biggest energy user in the city? Not many people in the staff really know. So they do a study, they go out, they find out what's going on with our commercial buildings. And they found something really incredible. They found that only 2% of the buildings in New York City account for 48% of the city's energy use. It was a really amazing statistic. And they were kind of shocked. They were like, why aren't we going after this 2%? They're obviously almost the majority of our energy use. And they did. They started doing that. And in effect, what they did in their city was then say, well, we could go a step further. There's also, the folks from 2 to 20% that are also a huge amount of energy. How can we kind of take this benchmarking data and make it worthwhile? Well, the way to make it worthwhile is for me to tell, so-and-so skyscraper that this skyscraper, which is somewhat similar to you, is 50% more efficient. Peer pressure is an incredibly powerful, powerful human trait that we can use to our advantage. And like in New York City, the benchmarking is something that a lot of cities can do. Cities like Boston, Philadelphia, at least in the US, San Francisco, have done these things, put information out there on commercial buildings, so people can know, like, how do I measure up? And so even on a neighborhood level, this becomes a really interesting thing as well. So I want to tell you a little story regarding energy-saving competitions. And this also involves peer pressure. There's a small town in Kentucky where I actually grew up, and the town is a cooperative utility. And they went to the community and they said, they dangled a carrot and they said, we will provide a new community project in any neighborhood, and they cut the city into different neighborhoods that made sense. Any neighborhood that can, decrease their efficiency, I think it was 15%, so become 15% more efficient. And they basically created a competition. Now the interesting thing is, they had some ideas. You could have, like, build a city park, do other things. So they got the children involved, they got teachers involved, they got parents involved. And over the next year, you saw some really incredible things happening in a very small town. You had, students kids telling their parents, let's not watch any TV tonight. I don't want to play video games because it's going to use more energy. And this competition was incredibly powerful, and these neighborhoods were battling and saving incredible amounts of power. The local utility was kind of blown away. But it was an incredible, easy way for a city to kind of step back and say, how can we actually engage our residents, because behavior change is so hard. The third thing I want to go over is energy-saving products and services. And so a lot of folks kind of talked about this. There is an ecosystem in every community that doesn't require behavior change as much. And what I mean by this is you have local small businesses that sell energy-efficient products. You have local contractors that do energy-efficient audits and retrofits and upgrades. And this is actually something my company spends a lot of time on, is going into these communities and kind of getting this information and providing it. Because a lot of times it's very hard for customers in any town to know, where can I go to get someone to even look at my house, to give me an audit, to tell me what I can do. And this is something very simple for cities, to kind of engage the local business community, get the right information, and be able to present that to customers. Apps are a great way to do this. The fourth one, I think this is really interesting. This is happening in some places around the world, not as much in the US. If you've ever looked for a home, or maybe even an apartment, there's incredible amounts of data out there on, what was the real estate price 15 years ago? What kind of materials is my home made out of? When was the last time the pool was cleaned? All kinds of rich amounts of data, but what a lot of real estate brokers and a lot of companies that provide all this other information don't tell you is, well, how do I stack up? Is this home 50% more efficient than a home in another neighborhood? Is this home, what can I do specifically when buying this home or when renting this property to make my energy bill go down? And I think that inflection point in every city is something that cities can do to kind of affect not only real estate prices as a signal to say, this is a reason this property should actually be worth more because it is so much more efficient, but a way for folks to kind of know, what am I actually buying? What are the things I can do when I'm actually moving in, which is a really important thing. And the last is kind of an idea that's been around for a while, but I would love to see it happen, be more available, is this idea of a green bank. And so a lot of times, and we all know this, that financing these upgrades can be expensive. The idea of a green bank is slow capital. Capital where the limited partners are not looking for a 20x return, they're just looking to make their money back over some period of time. Green banks have been incredibly effective in promoting energy efficient upgrades, renewable upgrades, distributed generation. And they're easy to set up because it's an amount of money that you're not just tossing away for upgrades for new power. You will actually see a return when you make new distributed generation on the grid, or even efficiency upgrades in some respect. And so these are all in my opinion, very simple things cities can do. And there is a lot of big data behind all of this. And I think cities can use their place as sitting on vast numbers of water use data, energy data, to be able to help their consumers make individual decisions and empower them to do these different things. I know, like I said earlier, I really do believe that all the new jobs we're looking for in the future will come as a result of information technology and the mix of smart things, the smart grid, clean energy. And these are just baby steps to get there, but it can help us engage and empower all of your citizens to do the right thing and save energy. That's it. Thank you so much.